Hello, everyone. How are you doing? My name is Brigida Toruño, and welcome to Uno Soul's Chat. As we are all adjusting to this greatly changed societal situation, I've been called to chat with Uno Souls, and they are people that are beacons of light in our community. We want to connect everyone together in hope, courage, and love. I am honored today to be chatting with Doctora Irma Becerra, an Uno Soul. She is the president of Marymount University. Welcome, Irma.
Hi, Brigida, and hi, everybody. Happy to be here.
Thank you. I'm so honored that you're here. I would love to know, how have you been doing during this surreal year of the pandemic?
Well, this past year, Brigida, as I'm sure it has been for you and for our viewership, it's been probably the hardest year, both from a professional perspective, but also on the personal perspective. It's been difficult, I think, in particular for leaders who not only have to address the many challenges that the pandemic has brought, of course, the health challenges, how do we keep operating while we keep the safety of everyone in our organizations intact. In the case of Marymount, our students switched to remote education back in March.
Mm.
But then they told us that remote education didn't do it for them, that they didn't learn as well, that they missed being on campus. So we actually welcome our students back to campus in August and still kept the COVID positive contagion to a minimum. Only 2% of our community was exposed positively. So it was a lot of heavy lifting. It required a lot of um, difficult work, a lot of time in terms of devoted to coordination, and that, of course, is put a lot of stress on the organization. So there's the organizational stresses, the health stresses. Of course, we had a year full of civil rights reckoning that, in particular, impacted Latinos and Blacks in the United States. So, yeah, it's been a difficult year. My hope is that we will emerge stronger from this pandemic. And I like to draw the analogy of what happens to our immune system once it gets stressed by disease and we conquer that disease, and then our immune system is stronger. So, my hope for us, for Marymount, but also for us as a nation, is that we will emerge stronger from this pandemic.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And Marymount is so lucky to have you. And you have done research, a lot of research in the field of disaster management. And that must have been something that you have drawn on recently during these times. How has this knowledge impacted the way you've led Marymount so successfully during these times?
Well, we started watching the pandemic back in January. So, over a year ago, we started preparing for what would be our response to the pandemic. And we formed a cross-functional team according to the protocols of Homeland Security and the protocols of disaster management, and under the direction of our VP for Enrollment and Students, Dr. Bill Bissett, who became the incident commander. In the incident commander, it's always someone that has leadership role in the organization, but not the president, because the president has to be free to make important decisions. So we started meeting with regularity, even when we thought the pandemic was an academic exercise. But the frequency of those meetings shifted from once a week to every other day to every day, including Saturdays and Sundays at the height of the pandemic. And of course, we put a structure in place that will bring us the important knowledge that was needed to make decisions across the organization, which range from public safety to health to international students concerns. So we had representation from different areas in the organization so that we could bring these concerns together and then make decisions. So this structure, the incident structure that is the same one that you set up for dealing with disasters, is really what has helped us to manage extremely well through the pandemic. And that those meetings continue now on a weekly basis. So even though we see the light at the end of the tunnel, if I may, we're still going to continue operating under that incident command structure until we're completely out of the pandemic.
Wow, wonderful. I mean, I'm sure that your experience, and I think your experience even comes from the Miami area and disasters and the hurricanes, which are, such a huge problem, but much more short-lived than what
Right.
we're living through right now, right?
Yeah, that's a big difference, Brigida. When you are trained in disaster management, there is a really finite length of time that you're dealing. If you're dealing with an earthquake, a hurricane, or fires, there is a finite set of time. And what is being challenging, is, but in particular about the pandemic, is that this has been going on for over a year now.
Yeah.
So there is such a thing as pandemic exhaustion, not only for the members of the team, but also the entire organization, because the time of it, everybody is exhausted. And sometimes it's very hard to keep a positive attitude when you don't see when is it going to be over. But luckily, now that we know the vaccines are starting to be deployed, we're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel, and we know that this is going to be over, and that day is getting closer, the
That's
day that this is over. Yes.
Yeah, and even, as an organization, I can see you feeling the like what I'm calling pandemic fatigue, because even as an individual, I'm feeling it, it's been over a year and I have so many coping skills and tools that I use to get through different, stressful situations. And I'm just feeling like, oh, wow, this is still going on. I mean, it's like you said, I do see the light at the end of the tunnel because of the vaccine and the people wearing their masks, and all of that is really helpful, and hopefully will get us to a brighter spot soon. But it has been feeling like it's dragging on.
Yes. And, we have to realize also that for all of us, it's not only the professional impact that is had on us, but also the personal impact. So it's important, like for me, my faith and my spirituality is one of the things that I rely on. And also, dedicating your life for a purpose. And here at Marymount, our students we have a tagline of learn with purpose,
Mhm.
because I feel that if we share with our students that they can find their purpose in life and their vocation through their careers, then you spend your whole life really looking forward to getting up and facing the challenges that the next day has in store for you, because you know that you are doing something that is having a bigger impact. You're making a difference in the lives of others. And I think if you approach these challenges that we're facing every day with a sense of purpose, that is the one thing that help us get through the difficult times. Also, a little bit of understanding that every day, in particular when you are dealing with a pandemic, you are making the best decision that you can with the information that you have today. And give yourself a chance that tomorrow there may be other information available that you may have to rethink the decisions that you have made already. And it's because what we know, for example, about COVID-19 today is completely different than what we knew a year ago or we did not know a year ago. So this idea that you have the opportunity to go back and say, well, yesterday we decided to do X. Now we know why. Perhaps we need to do Z. And you may have some of your team members say, wait a minute, but we decided yesterday to do X. And then, yeah, but we didn't know
That's right.
why. So therefore, what is the best decision that we need to do going forward? And the last thing that I like to share in terms of a coping mechanism for me is to keep a positive attitude and even humor. Um, sometimes laugh a little. You can laugh at yourself, and you can pick up a nice show. I think I shared with you that I love to watch Saturday Night Live, and sometimes I get home and say, I'm going to watch a little bit of Saturday Night Live because I need to laugh a little today.
Right. Yeah,
But
that's one of my favorites too. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it, you
That's so
have to,
true.
yeah, you have to try to find a way to kind of laugh at things sometimes, and just keep positive, laugh a little, have a sense of purpose, and just make the best decision that you can. If you need to revisit, it's okay.
Yeah, that's beautiful, Irma. Thank you. And that's great ideas about how to cope during these stressful moments. That have been almost like micro disasters on a personal level, for each person, for each family unit, for the communities, for the schools. Yeah, it's been quite a lot to go through. And and speaking of humor, this past week there's been a funny video going through the internet, and it was of a court, and they were having a Zoom meeting. So there was a judge and some lawyers. And then in one of the Zoom windows, you see a cat, and you see a cat and he's talking. And so this lawyer didn't know that their child had been on the Zoom and had put in a filter for a cat. So you couldn't see his face. You could just see the cat. And the cat was talking and the eyes were moving, and that was the person. And he was just so desperate, you could tell he just didn't know what to do. And he's like, I'm a human being. I'm not a cat. It was so funny, but I just hadn't laughed so much in such a long time. And it reminds me of your watching your SNL, the Saturday Night Live, because it just felt so good to laugh. And unfortunately, it was at the expense of the lawyer, but it's also, that's the reality, this Zoom world that we're in. It's a brand new world for all of us. And there are things that have happened.
Yes, I know that I have been in so many of these Zoom meetings over the past year, and so that I have to tell you, I am probably as zoomed out as everybody else, but there have been a lot of faux pas, funny moments that, and maybe at that time they were a bit embarrassing or what have you, but then you look back and then you have a laugh about it,
That's right.
just
That's
do
right.
your best and then keep forward.
That's right. And we need that.
Yes.
Yeah. Irma, you are such an amazing lady, and you in so many areas, and including that you have both your bachelor's and your master's degree in electrical engineering from the University of Miami. And then you went on to get your doctorate degree, your PhD in electrical engineering from Florida International University. And congratulations on that, tremendous. And that you were the very first woman to do this in that university.
Thank
Can
you.
you please tell us about your experience?
Yeah, being the only woman in my class just kind of forced me to make sure that I was always prepared for class, that if by any chance the professor asked me a question, I want to make sure that I answer it correctly. So, it's a little bit of the spotlight is on you. There were areas, engineering, in particular, electrical engineering. It's one of the most underrepresented for women, and there were areas that for me offered quite a challenge. For example, electronic components. I had never played with electronic components. I didn't take a class in high school on electronics, so I had no clue when I showed up to my first electronics lab, even what a resistor looked like. I knew that it was like a squiggly line in the textbooks, but in real life, it was like a little stick, wire stick with a little ball in the middle. I mean, it looked nothing like it did in the textbook. So, and I made mistakes. My first circuit, I think I burned the components. Of course, my lab partners, who were all guys, they said to me, okay, you're not gonna touch anything else the rest of the semester. Just stand there and watch us.
Oh, no.
And of course, that was like, okay. And I felt, they said we don't want you to hurt our group grade.
Mm,
And I said, well, I get it. And it was a little bit me straight A student, was like, well, a little bit hard to swallow, but I realized that I did have a kind of a hole in my knowledge. So I challenged myself and volunteered to become an electronics lab instructor later on. So
wonderful.
I had to work harder in that area that I was deficient so that I would be able to really have the knowledge that I needed to be successful.
Mhm,
So sometimes we may, if we are in a field where women are underrepresented, we may need to work harder. And I think that we need to go in with that attitude. I need to work harder and I need to do that so I can have the confidence and the experience to do my job well. And I think that that's a given, not only in STEM fields, but in any STEM, in even non STEM fields, that we oftentimes are in a position where we may need to work harder so that we are able to maybe convince others that just because we don't look like the rest of the mainstream people in that profession, that we can do it and we can do it well.
mhm,
And actually, that experience prepared me for the university presidency.
mm,
When I became a president, my daughter asked me, Mom, do you have any idea how many women, uh, Latinas, are university presidents in the United States? And I said, Nicole, I have no idea. She had studied economics and she did some research and found some data. And then she came back and said, it's 0.8%.
oh
So
my
with
gosh.
your appointment, now this
Mm,
number will be over 1%. And I
whoa, so
said,
low.
wow. So I have this huge responsibility to not only do the job, but do it well.
Mhm,
Because all eyes are on you to make sure you prove to the world that a Hispanic woman can do the job of the university presidency and can do it well. And by doing so, I also blaze the trail for the many other Latinas that will come after me and will also become university presidents.
that's wonderful. I mean, we're so lucky to have you in the community, and you are a tremendous leader. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Brigida. Thank you. I'm
Mhm.
delighted to have the opportunity. Thank you.
Yeah. And Irma, in terms of STEM, and we see that there are about 37% or so of STEM graduates that are women. And what advice would you give to women about pursuing a STEM career?
Well, in terms of STEM, it's very important to have a good background in mathematics.
Mm,
And that has to start early in life. As a matter of fact, some research shows that it starts as early as sixth grade or seventh grade. That if you don't have the math skills at that time, then it's going to be very hard for you to catch up if you decide when you're a senior in high school that you want to be an engineer.
mhm,
So I think to keep your options open, I think it's best that you try to build your strength. Or if you're a mother and you have kids, try to build their strength in mathematics early on, so that they decide that they want to study STEM. They definitely have the underpinnings of what is necessary to be successful. Because the thing with mathematics, it's very much like Lego blocks. In like the knowledge builds up on base of what you know already.
mhm,
So this may not be such a requirement if you're studying history or if you're studying. maybe politics, but if you're studying mathematics, every class is important. So your mathematics teacher in fourth grade is as important as the one that you have in ninth grade or the one that you have as a freshman in college. So making sure you have no holes in your math education is important so you can continue to build on it and then you can have a path to success in STEM.
That's wonderful advice.
Yeah.
Very, very important. Yeah, thank you for that. And Irma, you have said Marymount University honors diversity as a source of strength, and it seeks to achieve unity through that diversity. And I think I saw that recently Marymount unveiled the new Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Center. And as I read, this opening has marked a milestone to provide resources for students, staff, and faculty to facilitate open dialogue and meaningful engagement. So I would love to hear more about that in your words.
Well, first, let me start out by sharing with you that Marymount is one of the most diverse universities in the region, and we actually became a Hispanic-serving institution this year, with
Wonderful.
25% of our undergraduate student population being Hispanic or Hispanic descent.
Oh,
So we're also one of the most diverse, globally diverse, since about 20% of our undergraduates are international students from all over the world.
mm,
And when I say all over the world, I'm talking about 75 different countries, and they come from Africa, Saudi Arabia, all parts of Western and Eastern Europe, Asia, Latin America, South America, Central America. So we are a true global university.
how
And
important
that
is
is,
that?
yeah,
Beautiful.
and that is one of our core values that we want to make sure that all our students, no matter where they come from, if they're from the States or they're from all over the world, they have something that we call a global perspective. A global perspective is what allows to view any issue from different lenses that are also colored by your nationality, by different faith. We have students of all different faiths at Marymount,
Mm,
and so global perspective, intellectual curiosity, and serving others is are the core values of Marymount. So we felt that it was important based on some research that we have been doing about engagement, that we saw that one of the main reasons why students don't persist to graduation across the nation is that they lack a feeling of belonging.
mm,
So we started the Center for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion with an initiative called You Belong Here with the heart. You belong here. Because we want students to know that they belong here, that we value the individual, and we want everyone, like I said before, to understand how we can help them find their purpose in life. And we value the individual, and we are about the development of the entire human being. And this opportunity to learn from each other, students learn different perspectives and be immersed in a really global campus where you have at any one point students from all over the world that can be, as you discussed, different issues. They can bring a completely different perspective than if you were just sharing with people that exactly look like you.
mhm. That's such a beautiful thing that you have started there, Irma. It's so important because people coming from other my parents were immigrants from Ecuador and Argentina, and it was such a big shock. It's a shock to the system of for immigrants to come to this country and to understand the new culture and new language. And so it's wonderful to have a center like that where people, like you said, about the heart. And to me, that's everything. That it's a heart-centered place where they can feel the love and the inclusion and the belonging. That makes such a difference for these young students that are starting out here.
Yes,
That's wonderful.
we
Thank
agree with you, Brigida, and that's why we're very focused on that. effort. Um,
Wonderful. Beautiful thing.
thank
And
you.
here at Uno Souls, we have called February Social Equity Month. And we're interested in hearing about your thoughts and experience, or maybe there's a social justice leader that you admire, or perhaps a quote that you would like to share with us.
Well, there are so many social justice leaders that I admire. I certainly want to call the attention to the fact that I've had so many mentors in my life, Brigida, that most of them don't look like me. I've had um, people of all genders, all colors, and I now feel the responsibility to also mentor and offer my hand to those that are coming after me. So I hope that, those that listen to your great podcast will find some um, important lessons to take with them from our conversation today.
Yeah.
My personal quote for the leaders that are listening today, and it's based on my own experience, is that every single obstacle that you have overcome in your life has prepared you to be the great leader that you are today.
Mm,
Sometimes, as I reflect in my life and different challenges that I've been through, I know that each and every one of them shaped me to be the leader that I am today. So I think I'm offering with a sense of gratitude all our difficulties. I'm also, like you, an immigrant. My parents left Cuba with me as an infant when I was 8 months old. And yes, I put myself through college and worked very hard my whole life, but every one of those challenges that I have overcome, hard work and tenacity, I, as you may imagine, I don't take no for an answer, or if I take it, it's after I have tried many, many times. So
okay.
most of the time, I don't take no for an answer.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
So,
The perseverance, right?
yeah, perseverance, be tenacious. And when you reflect on your life, and I'm sure many of those that are listening today have had to face many difficulties and challenges themselves, just be thankful because they have made you the great leader that you are today.
Yeah, the beautiful, beautiful words. And I believe that what you just gave us are words of wisdom, but I wonder, officially, do you have some other words of wisdom that you would like to leave us with?
Other words of wisdom. Well, let's see. I think it's important that we, each one of us, take responsibility for those that are coming after us. I firmly believe in that. I think that each one of us listening today knows one student that is in college today, that is, facing great difficulties. No, there's also research knows, and why we have the You Belong Here initiative, that students, no matter where they are, they could be at an elite university or a community college, they will feel at some point they don't belong. This is too hard. I don't think I can make it to the end. Give them a call, ask them how they're doing, and tell them that they can do this.
Mm,
I think that I'm just gonna call a call for action. This
mm,
has been a difficult year for many. People are dealing with a sense of loss, a lot of pain around losing loved ones. There's also, of course, financial loss. There's students that feel that they have not done as well as they could have been doing. And just make sure that you're giving support. There's one person out there that needs your help, to hear your words of comfort. Let them know that you care for them, that they belong, that they're gonna be successful. To stick with it, um, so give them that conviction that you believe in them.
yeah,
So that's a call for action for our audience. Call this once to your nephew, your niece, your neighbor's daughter, or your neighbor's son, or maybe your grandson or granddaughter. call them, ask them how you're doing. Tell them they can do this.
Oh,
For them your words of support.
I just love that. Thank you so much, Irma, for your beautiful heart, for your compassion, and for your wisdom and leadership.
Thank you, Brigitta. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. I honor the light in you.
And in you.
Thank you, Irma.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to Uno Souls Chat. You can find us at www.unosouls.com and on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I would love to hear from you if you would like to chat with me. Have a beautiful week and see you at the next episode.